Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Flip. I'm Rob, owner of Flip Aquatics, your lovely host every morning on Wednesdays for Coffee with Flip. And I got old Livy dog over here. Lizzie, as some people have called her in the past.
Whatever you'd like.
Whatever you'd like. I call her Olivia. And then over here, we got the one, the only, Leather. And yes, that is her real name. But if you're confused, just call her Lad Dog. And then behind the camera, we have Broccolini, a.k.a. Brooke. And then we have DJ M. And DJ M is actually going to share what we're talking about today, kind of give you guys a little intro to what we're doing.
Yeah, good morning. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday so far. So this week's topic, we're actually going over all things baby shrimp survival. So we'll be covering everything from tank mates to filtration, all the way to the best botanicals and plants to add to your tank to help those baby shrimp thrive. So, Lev Dog, before we get started though, we got some announcements to go over.
Let's talk about what we have going on. So, I think the biggest thing right now, if you guys haven't seen, our Black Friday has started. Woo-hoo. Early access for subscribers, Woo-hoo. So that is subscribers to our email and text messages. So if you are subscribed to those already, you've probably been getting emails and texts with the codes to use. If you haven't, what are you doing? Get signed up.
True.
Because, I mean, when sales like this happen, like stuff goes fast. Like Madison actually sent a picture on Discord yesterday. She had CPDs in her cart, and then she went back, and it said that they were gone. Because stuff is 30% off right now. Livestock. Livestock and plants are 30% off. So while we are trying to keep stuff in stock as much as we can, we only have so much tank capacity, and we quarantine, so that also plays into it. So go get your stuff right now while you can. And then also, in just 2 days, we have David Sanchez joining us on Get Equipped with Flip.
Ooh, what's he talking on?
He'll be talking about breeding tetras, but then he also mentioned he has a couple other like rare species that he's going to touch on a little bit and share with our members, but primarily focused on breeding tetras. So, yeah.
That's super exciting.
And Black Friday live stream. On Black Friday, we're going to do a 4-hour live stream. So you'll want to join us for that. We have a lot of fun stuff planned.
What time does that start?
That will be 10 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. So plan accordingly.
Can we talk about something that is really exciting that will be coming on our website soon? Maybe like a company that we may be bringing on.
I think we can talk
need
it.
to,
because it's officially official. It's on its way.
Officially official.
Yes, we are finally going to have Pisces, and so if you're not familiar with that brand, basically it's some really nice aquascaping, rocks, sand. We got a little bit of wood, and then we got some freeze-dried foods from them.
That's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I'm most excited for some of the rocks and sand, honestly, just because they're like, I don't know, they're higher end, but like not super expensive high end, but like just unique.
Elegant.
Yes, they're
I like those
classy.
Little round lava rocks that they have. That's what sold me on them.
Smooth lava rock is good.
I mean, they do, all their products are just presented really well.
Yeah,
and
super nice packaging, like.
And the people that are in charge of their sales there, phenomenal.
Yeah, Brandy and Sadie, we love them.
Yeah, they're great.
So yeah, that'll be coming soon to our website.
Now you did touch on Get Equipped with Flip. Some people, I assume, don't know what that is. Why don't you just share some details about like what is Get Equipped with Flip?
So Get Equipped with Flip is a monthly live stream that we do for our members of our online aquarium club, and each month we have someone that's, they have like a niche in the industry in some area, one or the other. Like we've done Cory catfish, we've done shrimp, we've done just like a whole bunch of different stuff. And so once a month we have somebody come do a deep dive. There's like a live Q&A, so you get to chat with them one-on-one. And then like last month we even got Charles to join our Discord, which is really cool. So he's on there, so you can like ask him questions. So I'm kind of hoping we can get more of those people to join our Discord as we go. But also, if you're not a part of membership right now and you do join, you can go back and watch those episodes, and we definitely encourage that because I think it's a huge value for our members.
Yeah, there's a lot of good content there, a lot of good information.
Yeah.
That's
So that's
awesome.
this Friday.
Well, that's exciting. Well,
Yeah.
how's everybody's week starting off?
Sleepless.
Yes.
Sleepless.
Same, honestly.
You had a sleepless night too?
Yes.
Oh,
Rowie
man.
fought sleep from 8:30 to 10:30 last night.
Oof. 8:30 to 10:30?
Full blown screaming for 2 hours. It was really fun.
Yeah, because Cody gets up pretty early.
Yeah.
So he's probably sawing logs.
Yeah. And no, actually, he couldn't sleep, and he was the one that finally got her to sleep. But Mila's also tired today. That's how bad it was. So
Wow.
fun times.
Yeah, I know not last night, the night before, I got I'd say 4 hours best case scenario. And then you came in
I had like 2 hours of
walking
sleep.
zombie.
It was terrible.
So bad that,
You made me go home.
I made you go home. I was like, you can't be here.
Yeah.
You will hurt yourself.
I probably would have. I did come in and I was like, man, today is going to be a tough day. I just know I won't be able to think straight.
Well, it worked out good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we actually talked the day before. She's like, yeah, like, it'd be nice if I could just, like, change my schedule around here and work this shift and do that if I need to. And literally the next day, she's like, yeah, I slept 2 hours. I was like, why don't you go home and go to sleep, and then we'll just work later today. So that's what we did. Worked out pretty good. We got everything done that we needed to.
Sure did.
It actually is kind of nice doing husbandry
And
after
empty.
after everyone's gone, and it's
Yeah.
just like you can do what you need to do, and there's no distractions, no one asking you questions, like just get into the zone.
Those are really some of my favorite days when I can just like put on some music. It's quiet, it's peaceful. There's no like disruptions or distractions or
Yeah.
fires to put out. It's just what I'm doing. You can kind of get into the weeds. You can spend as much time on things as you want to.
Oh yeah,
It's peaceful.
it is nice. Yeah, because we have, just for you guys at home, I think we have upwards of 1,000 aquariums. So there's a lot going on here. So you can put some music on and zone out for
Yeah.
12 hours.
I mean, most of them probably get it. A lot of them have fish rooms. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, yeah, week's going good so far. We got in a huge import on Monday.
Monday was a little crazy.
It was crazy.
It was so
But
crazy. We had the entire Flip Aquatics team help
I think
us
it
put
went
away.
pretty
It
well,
did.
though, for as big as it,
It went
was.
really
with,
well.
like, all hands on deck.
I
Yeah.
have to say, I made one mistake.
Bum, bum, bum.
We got in two types of endlers. One type of endler, we got males only. The other type, we got males and females. And
Mixed 'em.
I put the females in the wrong tank.
Ah.
The good news is endlers are super easy to sex. So
Yes.
we can move them.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. Just,
If you mix
not
a
ideal.
tank of
Inconvenient,
like chili
that's
rasboras and mirror rasboras,
Yeah, that would be a little worse.
Yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
lot worse.
it's happened.
I'm glad we didn't do that.
Ah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't do that. So yeah, so Monday was a huge import day for us. We got in 20 boxes. We got in, so I know a lot of people have been asking on the Discord about guppies. And we got in like, how many types of guppies did we get in? At least 10 different types.
I would say we got closer to 20.
20 different types.
Yeah.
It was literally the three of us in me and Liv's office. Liv got the initial ones down that she liked, called Leather in, asked her which one she liked, and then I walked over because I was curious, and she's like, well, I guess you can tell me what you like too. And
Yeah.
mostly everything that I liked was stuff that they had already picked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And we have a Guppy Joe restock coming
Oh,
Tuesday.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you reached out to him yesterday?
yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
We've missed you, Guppy Joe. I know
Yeah.
I know you've been calling me. I apologize.
well, you'll get to talk to him Tuesday.
I'll get to talk to him Tuesday.
Yeah, so I'm excited to show him our new Guppy rack.
Yeah.
Um,
It is so nice compared to the other one.
Oh my God. Wasn't the other one starting to grow on you though?
honestly, it's not that bad. No, the
It's
other one
the
was
worst.
literally the worst.
It's the worst. So every week we do trivia, and so if you guys attend every single week, you're probably wondering like, oh, why didn't we get to trivia yet? So we wanted to try a little something new today.
Yeah.
This was a DJM inspired idea. And so we're going to do kind of like each section of our talk. We got a couple different talking points, and we're going to do a trivia question at the beginning of each one and kind of see like how trivia throughout Coffee of Flip goes. And you guys, all you members watching, I know it's members only talk today. Let us know your feedback. Let us know what you thought of today after it's over. Reach out to us on the Discord. Give us some information, and we're all ears open for feedback.
And we're here to please.
We are here to please.
Real quick too, Jennifer said no will. Yes, there is a will. I did forget to mention that in my little rundown a minute ago. So yes, this is will. This is the will. I just posted the link for you guys to enter for that. Hopefully we'll be revamping this soon, and maybe the way that we even do the will. So make sure you sign up, fill out that form, and then at the end somebody will get to spin the will.
I like it.
Okay. First question. Hold on, I'm blind. What is the best plant for baby shrimp survival?
Best plant for baby shrimp survival. There's a couple.
Chat, what do you think?
So what's our first topic? I'm guessing.
Chat is popping off.
Are they popping
They're
off?
popping off quick. Jennifer Linkus, Java Moss. Madison, Moss. iMac, Moss. Guppy
people
Joe,
love their
Java
Moss.
Moss.
Guppy Joe would say Java
He
Moss.
would say that specifically.
He's the king.
He is the king of Java Moss.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do love
Moss,
some
Moss,
Java
Moss. That's what everybody says.
Moss, moss, moss.
Or stitches added, or floaters with big roots.
I do like floaters with big roots.
I love when a shrimp hangs upside down on floaters. It's my favorite.
And what is the answer?
All right, this might come as a surprise.
You guys are never gonna guess this.
It's moss.
So Java Moss is definitely a good one.
Yeah.
I personally, I know it's not considered a moss. Subwassertang,
Yeah.
Palea, mini Palea, love it. I know
Yeah.
I literally mention it probably 4 times a month on Coffee with Flip, once a week. It's just such a good plant. Like all these gallery tanks all have it in it. It's so good. So good.
It looks so nice the way it balls up and everything too.
Just so inviting,
If I was a shrimp, I'd want to get all up in that.
Me too. Me too. I just want to crawl.
I'm not a shrimp, and I still do. But I
I'm
won't.
actually just going to get you a Subwassertang blanket for Christmas.
Please.
Literally, if I die young, bury me in Subwassertang.
Yeah, can we get Subwassertang woven into thread and have someone knit us a quilt?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what's our
Sounds good.
topic? So, are we talking about in this first section
Oh man.
plants to increase baby shrimp survival?
I think it's just the things that you can add to your tank to boost shrimplet survival.
So, I know personally there are 3 things that I always want to have in every single shrimp tank.
What are they?
Well, I'm sure you know because
Is moss one of them?
moss is definitely one of them. So there's 3 things that I always want to have in every shrimp tank. A type of moss, and we can even make that bigger. We could say plants in general.
Yeah.
So,
Portwort's another good one.
Yeah, floaters. I know you mentioned them. Floaters are so good for shrimp tanks for 2 reasons. One, evaporation. They reduce evaporation, which reduces the amount of changes in the water parameters. Number 2 is they're going to eat away your NO3s like crazy. So in the nitrogen cycle, the last product of the nitrogen cycle, a cycle tank, is NO3s. And that's what plants use for fuel. So floating plants, phenomenal. Now, all plants will eat NO3s like crazy, but do you guys know why floaters eat them faster than anything else?
More light. Floaters get more light.
I mean, that's
so
true.
they absorb
That's true.
More.
But that's not the right answer. What do you think?
I don't know. I guess maybe I would think playing off of how quickly floaters multiply and they just
So
they're
that is
growing,
true.
so they need more, and then they are producing more, so then they suck up more because there's more of them.
That's true.
Type vibe.
Do you know why do
Just
they grow
like-
faster? So
Because-
floating plants do grow faster than most underwater plants.
Because they are getting more light
Air,
and ooh,
You're close.
yeah,
oxygen,
they get more of everything.
What's in oxygen?
H.
Carbon dioxide.
Yes. Okay, so like the atmosphere.
That took us a while.
It did take us a little while, but that's okay.
We got there.
We got there. So air has way more carbon dioxide in it, CO2, than water does. So because a floating plant is exposed to air, it's able to photosynthesize way quicker and convert NO2 faster, which enables it to grow quicker. It's also getting more light, so you weren't completely wrong there. So there's a lot of things. So floating plants are phenomenal.
I was thinking photosynthesis, like it happens more rapidly, but I was thinking from the light perspective, not from the air perspective.
Yeah. So that's plants. So like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of other plants that you can include that would be good for a shrimp tank. But the next thing that I like in an aquarium would be like an Indian almond leaf. And you could even say like botanicals in general. So like alder cones, Indian almond leaves, guava leaves, things like that. The reason I like those things is because of biofilm. So if you've never heard the word biofilm before, it's literally like, consider it mold in an aquarium. If you've ever seen like mold growing in your aquarium, like a white fuzzy looking type thing, most of the time that's going to be biofilm, and it's basically like a bacteria that's forming, that's consuming sugar from whatever it's breaking down. So like Indian almond leaves, alder cones are going to release tannins into your water, which are going to provide antioxidants, natural healing properties. They're going to lower the pH a little bit. They're really good for shrimp, but the main reason they're so good is because they provide that biofilm natural food source. And then the next thing that I would always recommend is driftwood. So personally, I love Malaysian driftwood. It sinks right away. I've always loved it. It's something that I've been recommending for 10 plus years now. But the other thing is like things like spiderwood, grapevine, shrimpwood. Spiderwood and grapevine are the two main ones that have a lot of sugar content in them. And so adding them to your tank is going to produce a ton of biofilm as well. And then your shrimp are going to be able to keep up on that and eat that. And then the other good thing to note about driftwood, and the reason that I really like recommending it, is for the fact that when you put driftwood in your tank, rarely is somebody going to pull a piece of driftwood out and scrub it. It's just not something that you do. And so it's kind of just there. So it ends up being a place for natural things to grow, algae to grow, and no one's going to clean that. Whereas like the front glass, you might get algae all over the front glass and no one wants that. So you're going to be scraping it off. And so driftwood provides like just a natural feeding ground for shrimp. And so that's a reason that I always love having it in there. And then it also provides a lot of hiding places. So like if you get driftwood that has like a lot of nooks and crannies in it, that's where you can provide little safe havens for your shrimp to find shelter, because one thing that shrimp do is they molt. And so it's always good to have plenty of hiding places. So all of this to say, like, how does this actually increase baby shrimp survival rate? And it comes down to like moss, for example, provides a lot of nooks and crannies for baby shrimp to survive or hide and feel safe and secure. And so they're going to go into that moss, and then in that moss they're going to find a bunch of microorganisms, biofilm, stuff like that they can feed off of. And baby shrimp don't like moving around a lot, and so like giving them a safe place to go. Same thing with driftwood, all the little nooks and crannies, and we talked about how people aren't going to scrub that. And so like all the natural stuff that's growing on there is giving the baby shrimp something to eat. And then the alder cones also, or alder cones, botanicals, Indian almond leaves, things like that. They do provide a lot of good hiding places as well for baby shrimp, but also are going to give you that biofilm natural feeding ground for the baby shrimp.
Yeah. And if you have your shrimp in a tank with fish, definitely having a moss or something that kind of provides ground cover. Like
Absolutely.
a baby shrimp is a prime meal for a fish. But if you have that ground cover, the fish probably aren't going to hunt through it to get to your little baby shrimp. So obviously if you're trying to breed shrimp, probably don't keep fish in that tank. But if you're just a everyday hobbyist who's like, let's see if I can get some baby shrimp going, and you don't really want to set up a special breeding tank or whatever, those things are definitely going to be beneficial and crucial if you want to find any success like that.
Absolutely.
And just to circle back to like the not scrubbing the wood. So like you are talking about like when you're cleaning the tank and like because I feel like one of the the things where people mess up and like kill their whole tank is whenever they clean all of it, get rid of all their beneficial bacteria, and then their cycle is not there anymore. But you're saying like the wood is like a hub for that, so even when you're cleaning the rest of your tank, you still have that.
Yeah, rarely is somebody going to clean the wood.
Right. Right.
And the benefit of having the wood is so you don't have to clean it, and it does have all those things on it, so
Right.
you don't have to worry about it as much. Yeah, absolutely.
In the chat, Jennifer Linkus says a sponge filter or matten filter so they don't get sucked up and die. That's what she adds to the top things. But
It's
then
funny that she says that.
so funny. Wait, hold on though.
Oh,
Everett
sorry.
Irby says, I want to see what they say about powdered food because lately I've heard the mentality of no powdered food at all, but all the baby shrimp food is powder.
That's a really good point. I would say let's circle back to that. So, Brooke, if you want to write that down, and at the end we can answer some of those questions because I think that's a really good question that I'm not sure we're going to address naturally. So we can definitely circle back to that one. Powdered foods. That's a really good point.
Cool. Are we ready for the next?
Trivia question number 2.
Which type of filter is best for baby shrimp?
Jennifer Linkus knew we were going to ask this.
Don't tell
She's so
anybody-
smart.
Don't tell everybody else.
What?
Don't
Well-
tell anybody.
Doesn't mean she was right.
Yeah, she's so wrong.
She's so wrong.
Has to be a better
Yeah,
answer.
what is...
By the Bylance, matten filter. Jennifer says, I already answered. IMAX laughing. Madison says, sponge, question mark, question mark.
A lot of good answers in the chat.
IMAX says, canister filter with a giant intake.
Ooh. We could talk about that.
Guppy Joe says, sponge filter.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased here. And I could tell a little bit of a story why I'm biased.
Please do.
So, do we want to share the actual answer?
I think we should.
Go ahead. Liv, drum roll, please.
So here at Flip Aquatics, we're always going to go matte and filter all the time when we're talking about shrimp.
Always.
Always.
And let me share the story why. So, I would say 9/10 years ago, I went to my buddy Charlie Mueller's house. Charlie Mueller is a huge catfish breeder in the hobby. He's located in Pittsburgh, really involved in the club. He doesn't do it as much anymore. He's still involved, but not as much. But like he was really big on like the whiptail catfish scene. And so in his fish room, he kept cherry shrimp in order to help clean the eggs, right? So like his whiptails would lay eggs, his plecos would lay eggs, and then he would use the cherry shrimp to clean those eggs so that they didn't fungus up. In his tanks, I walked into his fish room the first time, and there is literally cherry shrimp everywhere, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands, like so many cherry shrimp. The guy had an unlimited supply. And I was like, what are you doing? And everything that he was doing was the opposite of what I would recommend. And he's like, honestly, I think it's the matten filters. And he had matten filters in every single one of his tanks. And he's like, there's like constantly 1,000 shrimp on every matten filter. That's just where they hang out and they breed like crazy. And I'm like, that is insane. So from that point on, I'm like, I got to try this thing. So I started getting matten filters, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I was just having a lot more success. The cycle was staying much more consistent. And I'm just like, this is crazy. And then at the same time, all the sponge filters that I had, the base of the sponge filters would actually crack on the bottom. And if it cracked, it would start rusting. And so then there was that. And I'm just like, man, I don't have that risk with a matten filter. And so like, that was the point that like changed the way I looked at filtration. Yeah. And so for all of you at home listening, you know, live or after the fact, what is a matten filter? Obviously that's a huge point that I feel like we have to address. Me and DJM actually just did a video on this. So if you look, DJM, do you remember the name of that video?
Oh.
It's like shrimp filtration, something like that. We could probably link it in the description of this video after the fact or in the comment section right now. But that goes in depth of like what filtration we use, why it's beneficial. And so I'll touch on it just a little bit here in the next couple minutes. But a matten filter is basically a solid piece of foam that takes up a whole wall of the aquarium. And then you use what's called a lift tube, which is just made of PVC pipe. You use airflow to move water from one side of the sponge to the other side of the sponge. And what that does is it creates constant current going through the sponge, which then it filters your water. And so why is that the best filtration for shrimp and for baby shrimp survival? So first of all, why is it the best filtration overall for shrimp? In my opinion, it is just like, one, the most cost-effective filtration. So you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. It's very inexpensive to run, and it's just super effective. And so all those things considered, it's a very good filter for cost savings, but also there's zero risk of a shrimp getting sucked up.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like,
you might find your shrimp on the other side of the mat and filter sometimes, but there's ways to prevent that too.
it
But it's not
happens.
going to harm them.
It's not going to harm them.
I would much rather have to scoop my shrimp out and put it back where I want it than have to be dealing with dead shrimp who are
Yeah.
getting
So
mangled by
one
the
of our
filter.
members, and I forget who it was, mentioned a canister filter.
iMac?
iMac? No, I don't think it was iMac. It was a canister filter with a
It was
large
iMac.
intake sponge. It was iMac? You're good. Hey, cheers to that.
Hey.
Memory of an elephant.
Yep.
So a canister filter with a intake sponge works great. Very effective. Here's the thing. Whenever you use a powered filter with an intake sponge, that intake sponge, to get a PPI, which is pores per inch, that would prevent shrimp from actually going into and getting sucked up, you need like a 35 to 45 PPI. That's going to clog every other day. Like, it literally clogs all the time. And so, like, while it's a very effective filter and it makes a lot of sense, it's going to cause a lot of maintenance on your end. Whereas like a mat filter, the maintenance side of it is like once a year, once every 2 years. Like, it's very, very minimal, especially if your stocking level is pretty low.
Yeah.
So like mat filters, shrimp safe, never going to have issues with that. They might crawl behind it, but easy to net them out and move them back. And there's ways to prevent that. Very cost effective. But the reason that it's so good for shrimplet survival rate is this. Literally, you're adding a huge wall of beneficial bacteria feeding ground. Like I was just talking about with like the Charlie story, is every single one of his shrimp were on the mat filter. Like you would see them on the bottom of the tank, but like it isn't like that's like their normal place.
Yeah.
So like even if you go through like our shrimp rooms, you'll see 50% of the shrimp are on the mat filter all the time. And so it's just such a good natural feeding ground for the shrimp. And again, like algae's gonna grow on there a little bit, biofilm's gonna grow on there a little bit, and it's just gonna constantly be a place where those shrimplets can go, feel safe, eat some stuff, and it just adds surface area to your aquarium. And shrimp, it's all about surface area. Like a 20-gallon tall is not an ideal tank because it's tall. Like you're not getting the footprint. And so if you get a 20-gallon long, I always say that's much better because the footprint's huge, so you have much more surface area on the bottom. And then if you add a huge mat filter on one side of the tank, now you're just increasing your surface area even more. And so like in so many ways, mat filters are just the ideal filtration. Now, a lot of you at home, I know sponge filters, something that a lot of people use as well. And I'm not saying sponge filters are bad because they can be good. It's just sponge filters, the base. There's always a type of material in that base that is used to weight it down. And most of the time they're using something cheap that will rust. And so if that base ever gets a crack in it, the seal's broken for whatever reason, all of a sudden that's rusting into your tank and it's going to cause issues. Yeah. And if you bury that base under sand, it's going to corrode a lot quicker because there's more organics under the substrate that are going to start breaking those seals down. And so for me, it's just easier, mat and filter, more cost effective, more easier to maintain, or I wouldn't say more, it's less maintenance, but when you do maintenance, it is more intensive because it's a big thing that you have to pull out. So that's the only downside to it. And it's kind of unsightly if it's on the side of an aquarium. If you do the whole back wall, it actually looks really good. Yeah. Like that's what we did in the gallery and it looks really sharp. And so that's my thoughts on mat filters.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, like with the talking about moss or subwater tank, like we have some tanks where the matin filter has also almost like grown like an ivy wall. It looks
It's
like
so cool.
of subwater tang or
Yes.
moss, and like talk about the perfect plant
I
filter
agree.
combo.
I agree. That
for
is cool.
shrimp. They love that. And the other thing that I was gonna say is, if you're getting a matin filter from us, Shrimplet one, or anywhere else, just make sure you're getting the 35 PPI if you're getting your matin filter specifically for shrimp. We sell lower PPIs, which are more fish specific, but if you get anything less than a 35 PPI for your shrimp, there's a good chance that your babies are going to crawl into it, get stuck. And that's just a mess that you don't want to deal with. So
Yeah.
you can use other PPIs like
Great
10,
point.
25 for fish, bigger fish especially, but even if you're trying to breed fish, I probably would, or like live bears or anything that start out really tiny, I would get the higher PPI, which just is more pores per inch, so the pores are smaller. But I think that's important. So if people haven't tried one and they want to try one, they're
Yeah.
getting the right thing.
Yeah, and
Yep.
we have them labeled on our website, the
Yeah.
one that is specifically for fish, just to clear any confusion when you're looking on there.
Yeah.
And the reason that we have two different sizes, so the reason that there's different sizes for fish, because you didn't touch on this, did you?
Nope.
So the reason that there's two different sizes, one for shrimp and one for fish, one is so that shrimp can't crawl into it. So that's the reason we do the smaller or the higher
PPI, smaller pores.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for fish, you could use the higher PPI, but here's the problem. Fish produce much more waste, which then will clog the matin
Yeah.
filter much quicker. And so that's why we do less PPI for fish so that it doesn't clog as easy.
Yeah.
So that you can still go the same amount of time. So,
Yep.
yeah. So that's a little bit about filtration. Is there any questions specific to filtration in the chat that we need to address?
Nope.
Well,
No
I
questions.
think with that, then it's time to do trivia question number 3.
All right. What substance do botanicals give off that help protect baby shrimp from harmful bacteria? Man, chat is quick today.
They getting this one?
By the violin says tannins. Jennifer Linkus tannins. J. Lou tannins.
J. Lou is the tannin master.
He really is.
I miss J. Lou. I feel like he hasn't been here in a little while.
So J. Lou is gonna have another
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So he's been pretty busy getting prepared for that. He
Do we
told
know
us
if
on
we
Discord.
have a boy or a girl on the way? Our newest member of the Flip fam.
Yeah.
I
And-
had that in because I said
if
we.
it's a boy, I'm pushing for the Robert.
Yeah, so everybody says tannins. So I don't know if they're right or not, but
Liv?
Yeah, so botanicals produce this thing. It's called tannins.
wow, you guys are so smart.
Our chat is so good. All you Aquarium Club members out there, you guys know your stuff. Or
Saying.
you've done your research.
Yeah,
So,
they're hitting Google before they answer in chat.
yeah. Botanicals are great, though. So, tannins, we'll really dive into, like, what botanicals, how to use them. Is there anything that you specifically want to talk about? Or, like, questions that you have that could kick us off? If not, I can just go in a spiel about tannins pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Are they essential? Do you need them?
Do you need tannins? No. You don't need botanicals, tannins in your tank, although it is extremely beneficial. So, like, to give you an example outside of shrimp keeping that we're currently working with is our fish. So we bring in fish, we bring in imports every Monday. This just depends on what type of fish we get. But certain fish struggle with bacterial infections, struggle initially because they just like certain water quality. And so, like, an easy one to talk about would be tetras. Tetras love soft water. They do historically come in with fin rot, bacterial problems. And
They just get so stressed out, too.
yeah, and they like higher temperatures. So, like, during shipping, they're just stressed. So our way, instead of just fully medicating them as soon as they get here and stressing them out more, is we load their tanks with alder cones. Alder cones are something that produce a lot of tannins quickly. Will also lower the pH rapidly. And so for us, we can use that as like a really quick, like, get them in there, try to get them healthy with natural means first. And then if we feel like it's not improving, then we can do medication. And then the tannins also make them feel more comfortable because the water is a little bit darker, so they don't feel like, people are just staring at them. They're not as worried about predators. And so it just kind of calms them down. And so now if we transition that to shrimp is the same type of way. Like, it just kind of like gives them the natural, so tannins. What are tannins? Tannins are the tea color, the brown water in your aquarium. And what that is antioxidants. And so there's a lot of healthy properties, there's a lot of trace minerals, things like that are in that. And that's why people are always like, oh yeah, drinking tea is so good for you, like certain types of tea. So it's the same type of principle. So
Jennifer Linkus, I think, is drinking sweet tea in the chat today, so she's getting all kinds of antioxidants.
she is. That sugar is so good.
Yeah.
So our shrimp, they do struggle. Like the one sickness that they can get is bacterial. And they'll get like a nice, or not nice, they'll get like a milky color. And the alder cones, Indian almond leaves are two things that are proven to have a lot of antioxidants in there that can actually fight off bacterial infections. So if you have a lot of bacteria in your tank, like obviously if you're overfeeding, if there's a lot of organics on the bottom that you're not cleaning up, that is just like polluting the water, it's not going to fight that off. Because like there's only so much it can do. But if you have a healthy tank, you just got shrimp in, and you have that nice tannins, the tannins in your aquarium, and then they get a little bit of a bacterial infection, they're much more likely to fight that off than they would be if you didn't have tannins. And so tannins are the one thing that is one of the best parts of using botanicals in your aquarium, but it's not the best thing. So we talked earlier about like the biofilm and breaking down the organics in the water. Those are all good too, but there is a couple of things to know with botanicals, like what should you use, what shouldn't you use. Obviously, I love alder cones, I love Indian almond leaves, but there's other types of botanicals as well. So like, what's a different category of botanicals that you know of?
Like pods and things like that?
Yeah, so there's pods. So pods are gonna break down the water, also produce, biofilm, tannins. Not all pods, like, sure they're going to produce tannins, but like, is it going to have the same properties? Probably not.
Some more than others.
Yeah, some probably are better than others. There's not as much research about some of the other stuff to know like what are the antioxidants that's put in the water and is it super beneficial. But they do provide hunting places, which are super good for survival rate. There's different cones out there, but there's a different complete category of botanicals that almost wouldn't be considered botanicals.
Wouldn't be considered?
Yes. Wouldn't.
Would it be?
And it's not wood.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
No. What would you
Oh,
think?
gosh. Okay, almost wouldn't be considered a botanical.
So
I mean, I get...
it is a botanical. It just doesn't do the same things as what we want botanicals to do.
Oh, it doesn't do what we would want a botanical to do?
Yeah.
What is
Oh.
this question?
I don't know. I was going to guess like
Can I
the
fill in a
water
friend?
additives that do the black water stuff. But
Oh, there is some of that. Yeah. Like Braywell sells like a black water and a black water clear
yeah.
that adds a lot of the minerals and antioxidants in just from the bottle.
gosh. What?
Rock.
So it's a
Wait,
type.
so what does
it's
it
a type
do?
of leaf.
A type?
So there's two types of leaves.
like
Mulberry
the mulberry
leaves.
leaves and things? They're like
okay.
food?
Yep. So there's botanicals.
Can we pause for a second?
I think you tricked us.
Hey,
Because I think you asked
Stringing
that
you-
question in
a very
you said
tricky
it's
way.
not a traditional botanical.
My
And to
bad.
me, leaves are the most traditional.
So maybe it's a traditional botanical. It just doesn't fit into what we're saying. This is
What
what
we want it to
botanicals
do.
are for.
Okay.
Because these ones, people could be confused and think that like,
Yeah.
oh, adding a mulberry leaf or
Yeah.
an apple leaf would help my aquarium by adding antioxidants.
Yeah.
And anything that's like a fruit leaf will not do what we're saying.
Yeah.
So like those are just strictly
Food.
yeah, they're more food sources. So they're gonna act kind of like
Yeah.
some of the woods that we talked about that produce a biofilm
The sugar.
for the fish, or not fish, for the shrimp to feed on. And
yeah.
yeah, you're probably gonna want to also add an Indian almond leaf if you're trying to use
Yeah.
leaves to get
If you're using leaves,
antifungal, antibacterial, antioxidant benefits.
yeah, absolutely. So just something to know. Sorry, that was a little trick question. And it wasn't even a trick question. It was a tricky way to ask the question.
Which made it a trick
That wasn't very
question.
clear.
It's okay. We got there. We got there.
You guys are so
You
stupid.
got us.
You are so stupid, guys.
It's hard.
I'm sure the chat was equally
Oh.
as confused. And they're like, what is this guy
Jennifer
saying?
Linkus mentioned banana stems.
That also would qualify as one that is not, like, it doesn't add the antioxidants in the water, but it
That's a
would be
good
a
call out.
very, like, a good natural food source.
Yeah.
So, good. Jennifer Linkus just coming in clutch today.
Shrimp
Yeah.
master.
So there is a lot of different botanicals. Obviously, wood is something that we talked about for a
Yeah.
while. So like using wood, and then different types of wood will add more of the antioxidants. Other types would add more of the sugar, which would be more of a food source. And so, so just doing some research and knowing that there is a difference, and knowing what you're adding in the tank and what it's actually accomplishing. The two that I always recommend though, Indian almond leaves, alder cones, Malaysian driftwood. It's my basic. So.
Yeah, just a
it
couple
simple.
things to like
Keep
add.
it shrimpable.
So part of this we've kind of already touched on, and the chat has too. But just for anybody not keeping an eye on the chat, Jennifer Linkus mentioned that the only thing she doesn't like about botanicals and driftwood is it turns the water brown, and she's not fond of the dark water. Which you mentioned, like the dark water clear.
Yeah.
That's something that you can add to the water. With that, it has less tint. It says so. Maybe still a little tint, but it gives you the benefits of the
Yeah, and you can,
tannins.
if you don't like that color, you can use carbon to remove the color. The only thing is like removing the color will remove a lot of the natural healing properties too. So it's just like, again, botanicals, are they necessary? No. Are they beneficial? Absolutely.
So if you were to like boil your alder cones and then put them into the tank, will the alder cones themselves still have a lot of the antioxidants and stuff in them, or will you pretty much
No,
boil out
I
the
would say at
nutrients
that
as
point
well?
you're boiling most of it out,
Okay.
and now what you're using it for is like for it to break down, provide biofilm. Like
Okay.
it's accomplishing more of the food side of it
Yeah.
than the healing side of it.
Gotcha.
I mean, will there be some in it? I'm sure, but like it definitely would reduce
Yeah.
the amount of beneficial stuff in it. So with that, I think we're. Is there any
There's
questions?
something that I do think that we should touch on real quick.
Ooh,
Guppy
give it
Joe
to me.
made a good point that I wanted to make sure we touch on.
Guppy Joe?
Yeah.
Oh man.
If using botanicals and also having neocaridina, being aware that those drop your pH, and that's something to be aware of when using
Absolutely.
them.
So let's say you have hard water, like you're breeding neocaridina shrimp, and you have a high mineral content, which means you have a pretty decent GH level, a pretty decent KH level. It would take a ton of botanicals to bring that pH down enough to make a difference. But let's say you have a soft water setup that has caridina shrimp. Using a couple of botanicals when you have no KH in the water could bring down your pH significantly. So just knowing basically your water parameters and how much you should put in there. And then another thing to point out is like if you don't like the tea color, the harder your water is, the quicker it will react with the alder cones, and the darker it will make your water. So in soft water setups, it won't eat away at the cone as fast or the leaf as fast. So like the tannin color will be less noticeable. But in really hard water, it will be super noticeable. So just another thing to point out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, we only have about 5 minutes left to cover our last trivia question.
Wow.
No, I mean we got time.
Okay.
Is this one loaded? Let me look at the list.
No, I don't think it's loaded. Which tank mate is most likely the safest choice to avoid the risk of shrimplets being eaten?
Bum, bum, bum.
So what tank? What's the best tank
Most
mate?
likely, though.
What's the question again? Give it to me one more
Which
time.
tank mate is most likely the safest choice to avoid the risk of shrimplets being eaten?
And it can't be another shrimp.
No, it is not
That's
another
what
shrimp.
I was gonna say.
So it's not. So outside of shrimp, what is the best tank mate
Yes.
that is not gonna
By the bylands.
not gonna eat shrimp?
Says snails, question mark. Madison says chilies. Jennifer Linkus says snails. Guppy Joe says chilies. Madison says chilies again. JW Farms snails. Ever Irby chilies or snails. J. Lou snails. Just Chris snails or Odos.
Ooh, Odo's a good one.
And then Madison says snails is probably the right answer.
And
Well, last week we talked about why snails and shrimp are besties.
we did.
We did.
It's snails.
It's snails.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Dead giveaway. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, snails are going to be the least likely to eat a shrimp.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think chilies or chili rasboras, mirror rasboras, exclamation points, spotted, all those micro rasboras. I don't feel like they're going to eat very many shrimplets if they eat any at all. It's just like a mystery snail is a whole lot less likely
Yeah.
to eat a baby shrimp than a chili rasbora.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, you know, it's got to be snails.
Plus,
Yeah.
they're best friends.
And they're
Of
best
course.
friends. So if you guys missed Coffee with Flip last week, we talked about snails being super beneficial to a shrimp tank. So I would, if you guys want a much more in-depth look to this conversation we're going to have right now, tune in or go back last week, watch that replay. There's a lot of good information there. But the reason we even talk about this is because some people, you know, they want to have more things in a tank than just shrimp. Those people aren't as cool in my book as the people that just like shrimp only tanks, you know what I mean? But there is a lot of benefits to having more than just shrimp in a tank.
You think you're so much better than the rest of us.
I mean, I definitely feel superior,
Oh my gosh.
but, you know, we'll leave it
Meanwhile,
at
he's
that.
wanting to put a bunch of blueberry
Say
snails in
less.
a tank.
Huh?
Wait,
Meanwhile, he wants to put a bunch of blueberry snails in a tank.
Yeah, interesting.
I didn't want to do that. That was all her.
Interesting.
So, if you guys want to keep more things in a tank, first of all, snails, keeping with shrimp, best friends, because symbiotic relationship, making sure that the tank stays cycled, so on and so forth. Again, tons of information in last week's Coffee with Flip. Just tune into that. But if you want to keep some stuff in your tank, the best option would be like the micro rasboras. A lot of people mentioned chili rasboras. You guys can find those. We might have some in stock right now if you guys are looking.
What were you talking about?
Chili rasboras.
BRB.
Maybe. I know we definitely have a lot coming out of quarantine for our Black Friday sale, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Sold out right
but-
now.
Sold out, darn it. So chili rasboras, super popular, just a great option. Really cool, tiny fish. They only get to about half an inch at most.
Yeah.
Like they're tiny. Endlers, pretty good option. Probably would eat some baby shrimp. Guppies, pretty good option. More likely to eat shrimp. Otocinclus, somebody said that. Great option. Those guys are pretty shrimp safe. They are little bullies when it comes to shrimp though. Like if they want the food, ain't no shrimp getting that food because they're gonna have their fill first. Pygmy cories probably would be a really good option.
J. Lou asked Miras, so to be clear, any micro rasbora.
Yeah, any micro
Miras
rasboras
would be a great option.
Yeah, miras would be just as good as chilies. Spotted rasboras,
Like you said, exclamations. Those are
exclamation,
good.
and then strawberry is the other type that people
Yeah.
say. They're just so close. We don't sell strawberries because they're so close to miras.
Probably blue axolotl would be.
Yeah, blue axolotl would probably be okay.
They stay pretty little. Green kubatai are gonna get a little bigger than those ones, so they might be able to fit a shrimp in their mouth a little bit more easily.
Yeah. I mean, rasboras in general are pretty friendly.
Yeah.
I just would stay away from the really big ones like the rummy nose rasbora. Naked micro rasbora is another name for
Would
it.
not
Those,
put a
those
scissor
are
tail
way bigger.
raspberry.
I would
in my
definitely not
shrimp
put a
tank.
scissor tail rasbora in my shrimp tank. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good options. Fish are always fun to keep. If it was me, I would probably do endlers and just know that like they're gonna eat some of the babies.
Yeah.
But if you have enough hiding places like moss and botanicals, like you should be covered there. What are some other good options?
Harlequin rasbora question mark from By the Bylands.
Harlequins,
They're a little bigger.
I wouldn't do.
I
If
probably
it were
wouldn't.
me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get away with it, but they are a little heftier,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little
So, like,
aggressive when it comes to feeding.
I think one thing that's notable too is you'll hear different things from different people all over the place. That's like, yeah, I just have a weird school of. You might hear someone say, I have a strange school of Harlequins that aren't interested in whatever. You'll hear people be like, yeah, this fish that's traditionally carnivorous, they eat pellets all the time in my tank, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Every
different fish are
situation
gonna act
is
a little
different.
bit differently. So like, you could try it. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to be completely shrimp safe, shrimp and snails. That's the best.
Shrimp compatible.
Yeah, shrimp compatible. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, it's like I think we said, a species-only tank is going to be your best bet to if you're trying to breed specifically, increase your baby shrimp survival,
Yeah.
just don't have anything in there probably.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between like snails and fish obviously is if your fish do get a hankering for your shrimp, they can hunt them down. Like the fish are going to be able to keep up with speed.
100%.
Your shrimp, if you have it with snails, can swim to the other side of the tank, and it'll take the snail 15 minutes to get there. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, tank mates for shrimp to make sure the shrimplet survival rate stays high. Snails is the best option. Other than that, it's a little risky.
Yeah.
And I did want to circle back. There was that good question earlier that I just feel like this is a good time to bring it up.
Yeah.
Is like feeding powdered food. So the reason people say don't feed powdered food for shrimp is there's only one reason. And it's that powdered food dissolves faster in the water, which is easier to spike ammonia. And so that's why people don't recommend feeding powdered food. What, do I got something? Help me out here. Oh, thank you. So that is the only reason people recommend not feeding powdered food. So the reason feeding powdered food, and I now in my journey with shrimp keeping, I recommend feeding powdered food because baby shrimp don't like moving far when they're first born. So like if a baby shrimp is born here, it doesn't want to go way over here. It wants to stay here where it's comfortable. And then, so you basically want to feed it where it's at. And so feeding powdered food is going to feed the entire tank as like a dusting, kind of like, think of a snowstorm. It's just going to fall where it falls. And then the shrimp don't have to move far to find food. It's less aggression when it comes to feeding. And so I like powdered food for that reason, but you can overfeed powdered food very easy.
Especially in a shrimp tank.
Yeah, so less is always better. So going less is what I would recommend. And maybe powdered food isn't every feeding. Maybe it's only, once or twice a week. So like one powdered food that I love is Bacter AE. It's something I've used my entire career of shrimp keeping. It's basically ground up biofilm or artificial biofilm. You feed it. You don't want to overfeed it because it could cut off oxygen exchange. If you followed the label, it probably would be a bad idea. So like literally just a tiny bit on top of the water. You could even pre-mix it beforehand in a little like bottle and shake it up.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. And then other than that, like you can get a complete food that's ground up. You can grind it up yourself. You can get baby food, something like that, and feed powdered food. I do recommend it, but please feed sparingly. So less is always better. So just a little bit to talk about your question because I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah.
And then is there any other questions in the chat of like things that maybe we didn't touch on today that people are like, hey, like I really want to know about this thing?
No, I don't think so. I think I called out everything. Andrew Starnes did call out that we do have a shrimp compatible fish section on our website, talking about fish that we would pair with shrimp. So
Yes.
you can also check that out. Good call out, Andrew.
And shrimp compatible doesn't mean shrimplet safe.
Yeah.
Just know that there's a difference.
That's really it.
Yeah, we have live arrival guarantees. We don't have live birth guarantees.
Oh, you know what? I did miss one question. Jennifer just asked another question. But she had one earlier. She was asking about blueberry snails and when we're gonna have them.
Ooh.
Which I know we kind of talked about last week that we had ordered some, but I never heard if they actually came or not.
They did.
We'll know more today.
Dang it. That's such a bummer.
Again, I ordered some like 2 weeks ago.
So we still have them.
Yeah.
We just
Those
need to
are the-
confirm
We'll know more
how many
today.
we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go through everything today.
But then she also asked, why do buried females drop their eggs?
Ooh, that's a really so it doesn't quite go into today's topic about shrimplets, but it does go into getting shrimplets. So I think it's a really good question. So if shrimp drop their eggs, it's normally due to stress. So like stress means that they're molting. Normally they drop their eggs when they molt, and that means they're molting early. So I would do things to reduce stress in your aquarium, whether that's add more hiding places, reduce your water changes. So instead of if you're doing 10%, maybe try 5%. Maybe try doing it over a longer period of time. Like normally it's due to stress. So like reducing the amount of stress in your aquarium is going to help. things like botanicals will help reduce stress, and so that's something that you could try with that tannin color in your water. I think Jennifer's the one that said like she doesn't like that tea color in the aquarium, but that tea color would help them feel less stressed. So there is things that you could do. Feel free to reach out to us, send us an email with like a picture of your tank and like what you're doing as far as like your maintenance schedule, and we'd be willing to, you know, kind of give you some tailored advice as well. And that goes for anybody listening. We're happy to help where we can.
But especially Jennifer.
Yeah, especially Jennifer.
Well, that's all for the chat.
One question I had that I think is just a quick thing that we could talk about is do you recommend an optimal substrate for boosting shrimplet survival, or do you think any substrate's gonna be okay?
Doing like, if you get too big of a substrate, you kind of run into the problem with like we talked about mat filters. If you have too big of a PPI or the PPI is low and the pores are too big, they can kind of get in there and get lost and then not ever come out. Same thing with like substrate. Like if you have a really big substrate, I feel like they can kind of get down in the substrate and not find their way out. Like I've seen it with like fry. So my big thing is like, I personally like pool filter sand. It's something that I've preached, and we actually, Shrimplet, we actually have our own brand of pool filter sand now, which is super exciting. But pool filter sand is just something that I highly recommend. And doing like 2 or 3 inches of that gives you a good bacteria bed to break down organics and stuff like that, because poop finds its way into the substrate, and then there's live bacteria that lives down there. So having a deep media bed, I don't mean like 6 inches, like don't go crazy, but like having a good 2 to 3 inches of pool filter sand, I think is really beneficial. And then having like a Malaysian trumpet snail that can get in there and kind of stir the substrate for you, I think is really good, or a rabbit snail, something like that.
Again,
so
snails and shrimp.
Yeah, I know.
Besties.
Best friends.
Who would have known? Who would have known?
Us.
Yeah, so that's my big recommendation, is just like a pool filter sand. That's what I like to use, and so it's what I would recommend.
Cool.
I think it's time for
Well,
our
the
will
will.
Yeah. Time
Well,
flies when you're having fun.
When you're having fun, good conversation,
If
good
you-
company. Come on, we can't.
Speak for yourself.
if you missed it earlier,
It's
this
been
is
great.
Will. This
It's
is
been
the
great.
Will. Let me post the link again real quick for you guys to enter if you didn't.
So how we determine a
second.
winner is me and Liv pick a random person from the people that have filled out the form, and then we play paper, scissors, rock, or rock, paper, scissors, however
Or-
you want to say it. And she's
Scissors,
been
rock, paper.
yeah, and she's just been destroying me lately. So
Yeah.
Absolutely own it.
let's hope that's not the case today. If it is, it'd just be another week that I'm a little bit disappointed. But Wednesday, for all of you at home, is Sushi Wednesday here at Flip Aquatics.
Yeah.
And so we got our sushi order in, and no matter how this turns out,
It's going to be a good day.
it's going to be a great day.
We always look forward to
oh, sorry.
Wednesdays. No, go ahead.
Before we do the wheel, we got a new core club member.
Oh.
Yes.
Who'd we get?
Wolf Knight 295.
Hey,
So
Wolf.
welcome.
Yeah.
Let's give Wolf a
Wolf
little
Club.
woof woof.
Oh.
Okay.
What do you got? What do you got?
It's wolf, not woof.
Wolf. Well, I know, but
Howl.
Wolves go
Wolves
woof, woof.
howl.
No, they don't.
Howl.
Yeah.
do it.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank
Listen,
you.
We got the Ramsey Girl Wolf Pack, and we do that frequently, so
Okay.
I can do that.
I apologize.
Okay, are you guys ready to
Question you.
pick?
Welcome to the club, by the way.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to our
Hopefully
crazy
you
club.
enjoyed that little introduction.
You signed up for this.
Hey, you're the one that hit click buy.
All right,
That's funny.
0 to 22.
Oh.
22.
21.
Okay, Liv, you are Adam Whirl?
You know why I picked
Adam.
you know why I picked 21?
Why?
I just figured I'd pick my age.
Okay.
Divided by 2? I picked 22 because Taylor Swift says, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Ah, I should have known.
Yeah.
Should have
Rob,
known.
you are Kyle the Fountain.
We got 2 new people in here today.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Kyle versus Adam.
Well, let's see what we can do here.
I'm not listening to anything you have to say. I already know what I'm going to do. You can't trick me.
I won't try to trick you.
Okay. Kyle, I got you.
Adam, I got you. All right, ready?
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I knew it. I knew it.
Dang.
Crushed. Kyle, that was for you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam, but, it felt good to crush your scissors.
Wow.
That's the first time I won in like 3 weeks.
I
So
know.
4
It's
weeks.
been like 12 weeks since the last time you beat me.
It's no way. You ready for this?
Ba-da-da.
Kyle, I hope I get you something good. I really do. $25 gift card. Let's see. Hey, free overnight
Everybody
shipping.
wins.
That's awesome.
That's perfect.
Kyle just joined the club.
Kyle just joined?
Yeah.
Kyle joined. Welcome to the club. Plus
And
free
Andrew.
overnight shipping. And it's Black Friday.
I know, that's what I was
So
gonna
you
say.
get like double
Yeah,
whammy
that's a
there.
really
All
good
the sales
time to
right
get
now for
that.
That is
overnight
a
shipping?
great time.
And also,
Couldn't come at a better
Andrew
time.
Starnes gifted a membership.
Wow.
Andrew, thank you.
I don't even know how to pronounce this.
Do
to
your
be honest.
best. I believe.
see.
Quactiho.
Quactio! Welcome.
I don't know if I said that right. I apologize if I butchered it. I probably did.
Yeah.
I think you did great.
You don't even see it.
I believe.
Okay, so I will send you a code for that free overnight shipping.
That's super exciting. Great
Congratulations.
job.
Perfect timing.
Great job. Way to be there at the right time, right place, sign up at the right time. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. That was a lot of fun. Coffee with Flip, talking
Don't-
about Shrimplet survival rate.
Don't forget Friday. If you haven't had enough of us, well, it'll just be me and what's his name? David Sanchez.
Yep.
correct?
David Sanchez.
Make sure you join our Get Equipped with Flip on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to learn all about Tetras.
But if you miss it, you can watch a replay. But it's
Yes.
obviously more fun when you're there.
More
and
fun
you
to
can
be present.
and
It is members
ask questions.
only. So if you're not a member and you're curious, make sure you sign up.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to all the club members that were here to participate in trivia and be a part of it. Jennifer Linkus just coming out with all the good answers
For
today.
sure.
So in my mind, that's the person who won trivia today. So
Yeah.
huge shout out to Jennifer Linkus. And thank you guys so much for being here, watching the replay, watching live. We appreciate it. And thank you guys. That was some good stuff. So.
Also, we
Ooh.
did get a super chat, so I just want to address it before we.
Yeah.
There is a
Please.
question. Wolf Knight, I can take the question down and we can come back to it next week.
Well, let's just answer it real
You
quick.
want to answer it?
Yeah, I'll answer it.
Okay, so
For a
Wolf-
super chat? My God, let me
Anything
skip.
for a super
let me
chat.
skip Sushi Wednesday
Oh
and
my
answer this
God.
question.
Wow. It says, he asked, will CO2 spike the pH in a Carradina tank?
CO2 will actually decrease the pH in a Carradina tank. So the more CO2 you have, you can actually crash the pH of a shrimp tank or any tank for that matter. So a lot of people that run CO2 actually put it on a pH monitor, and then it will kick the CO2 off if pH hits a certain level, and it will just like kind of maintain that CO2 to keep the pH at a certain level. So yeah, so great question,
Alrighty.
and thank you for the super chat. Super nice of you,
Yeah.
and joining the club because I think Wolf did join, right? That's the same
Yes.
Wolf.
Yep.
There's not two wolves in here.
Well, not that
There's
I know.
there's
This
not
is the only
there's not
wolf.
multiple wolves here.
Nope. Just
Just
one.
making sure. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we just appreciate it. So we hope you guys decide to join us next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Coffee with Flip, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. And all you members, let us know what you guys thought of today's format, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Send us a little message on Discord, and we'll go from there. So you guys make it a great week. As always, God bless, and
Catch you on the flip side.
see you guys.